Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here, and thank you to RITM for making this research possible. My name is Salem, and today I'm going to be presenting some of my work about white Americans' reactions to shifting racial demographics and the role of zero-sum beliefs. So the United States is getting more diverse, and as racial diversity continues to increase, the U.S. Census Bureau predicts that racial minorities will make up more than half of the nation's population by 2044, resulting in what many have called a majority-minority nation. Exposure to this kind of information about shifting racial demographics can lead members of the dominant group, or in this case white Americans, to experience something that social scientists call status threat, which we define as a concern over their group's position in society. This kind of threat has a number of important sociopolitical implications. So those who experience status threat in response to information about diversity are more likely to oppose policies that support diversity, like foreign immigration to the U.S. or affirmative action. They're more willing to engage in anti-immigrant behavior and more likely to support far-right political parties and politicians. So researchers have examined a variety of factors that might play important roles in people's experiences of status threat in response to information about shifting demographics. And one factor that I'm particularly interested in that some research has pointed to as potentially important, but I think is still understudied, is zero-sum beliefs. So in particular, this interest led me to the question, how does exposure to information about shifting racial demographics in the U.S. affect white American zero-sum beliefs, and how does that impact their experience of status threat and other consequences of it, for intergroup relations? So to study this, I designed an experiment to investigate how exposure to diversity affects zero-sum beliefs. I recruited 800 white American participants and randomly assigned them to read an article about the prospect of a majority-minority nation, or they read a race-neutral control article, and then participants reported their levels of zero-sum beliefs and status threat. I found that exposure to this information about diversity predicted white individuals' reports of higher zero-sum beliefs compared to exposure to race-neutral information, and that in turn led them to report higher levels of status threat. These findings have, important implications for intergroup relations. Like I mentioned earlier, experiencing threat over one's place in the racial hierarchy predicts a whole bunch of negative outcomes for intergroup relations, and so this work kind of offered a starting point for me to figure out how to think about how white people are reacting to information about diversity and what the downstream consequences are in the future. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Can you say a little bit more about the map that you have on your slide?
Yeah, this is a map that just shows projected increasing the it shows the projected demographic makeup of the United States. So the colored areas are where there's more projected increase of minority populations. I didn't use this in my stimuli in my experiments. They read an article that had a pie chart that showed projected amounts of white people versus racial minorities or specific racial minority groups, along with a description of how those trends would pan out between now and 2044. But yeah.
Yes, I believe you said 800 participants, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Are all those from the same geographical region, or did geography play a role in this in any way?
No, so they were all white American participants, but from every part of the U.S. And also across the political spectrum, so people of different political ideologies and ages above 18. So it was a pretty diverse sample, but they were all white Americans. Yeah. That's it. Thank you.